Welcome. If you've been following the 2026 World Cup since it kicked off on June 11th, you already know this tournament is, well, it's unlike anything we've ever seen before. It is quite literally an unprecedented data puzzle. We're dealing with expanding formats, shifting climates, chaotic early results, the whole shebang. But what if we could actually cut through all that noise? In today's Explainer, we're diving into a comprehensive tactical forecast where artificial intelligence has crunched the raw data, the performance metrics, and those wild early group stage results to completely map out this tournament. We're going to see exactly how AI just cracked the code of the 2026 World Cup.
And you know, this number right here is exactly why this tournament is so wildly unpredictable. 48. For the very first time in history, we've got 48 teams fighting for one single trophy. The sheer scale of this event has completely broken the traditional tactical models. It's not just, a bigger bracket. It's an entirely different mathematical and physical challenge for literally every squad involved.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Think of this as our tournament bracket for today, guiding us through. First, we'll look at the ultimate football marathon. Then elite contenders and favorites, followed by dark horses and surprises. After that, navigating the group stage, knockout traps and upsets, and finally the AI final prediction.
So, starting off with Section 1, the ultimate football marathon, a test of endurance, not just skill.
To really understand this AI forecast, we first have to understand the environment. The data models immediately flagged this specific tournament as completely unique. Honestly, you can just forget everything you know about a traditional World Cup run. The source material perfectly defines it with this Arabic phrase, marathon of attrition. The model heavily emphasizes that this is absolutely not a sprint. The 2026 World Cup is a grueling, relentless grind where pure skill is kind of going to take a back seat to physical endurance and squad management.
And you can really see this survival of the fittest narrative play out in three main steps. Look at step 1, the travel. Teams aren't just staying in one little region anymore. They're bouncing between the high-altitude air of Mexico, the intense, sticky humidity of U.S. cities, and the varying climates up in Canada. That alone is going to completely drain the players. Then, step 2 is managing squad depth, which leads right into step 3, because for the first time ever, a team has to win a punishing 8 matches instead of the usual 7 just to lift the cup. The physical toll here is mathematically staggering.
Moving on to Section 2, elite contenders and favorites, the giants fighting for the crown.
All right, so with the physical stakes established, let's look at the teams equipped to handle it based on opening performances and raw squad data. The AI reveals this massive split among the top tier. On the left, we've got the explosive starters. Germany literally sent a shockwave through the tournament by crushing Curaçao 7-1, which signals a major tactical rebirth for them. Argentina comfortably dispatched Algeria 3-0, and France looked incredibly deep against Senegal. But take a look at the right side, the slow-starting giants. Brazil was held 1-1 by Morocco, Spain hit an absolute brick wall in a 0-0 draw with Cape Verde, and Belgium tied 1-1 with Egypt. But before anyone freaks out, the model points out that history proves these massive teams, like Brazil, Spain, and Belgium, often use the early stages just to find their rhythm. Panic isn't in the data just yet.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the absolute certainty the algorithm has in these top 3. It gives Argentina a literal 100% chance of advancing from Group J, fueled by the collective passion of Messi's farewell tour. France and Germany, they sit at a massive 98%. The model specifically praises France's terrifying depth. They effectively have 2 equally strong starting 11s, which is insane. And Germany, they're operating at maximum power under strict tactical organization.
Let's get into Section 3, dark horses and surprises, the disruptors of the 2026 World Cup.
But hey, a World Cup isn't just about the heavyweights, right? The expanded format means a lot more room for chaos, and the algorithms actually suggest several teams are primed to shatter the traditional hierarchy. Here are the top dark horses. Morocco boasts a 90% chance of advancing from Group C after that incredibly organized 1-1 defensive masterclass against Brazil. The USA also sits at 90%. They leveraged their massive home advantage to secure a dominant 4-1 opening win over Paraguay. And then, wow, you have Norway in Group I at 80%. The forecast explicitly highlights the Haaland factor. In knockout football, having a striker who can turn just a fraction of a chance into a goal is a massive statistical anomaly, and it absolutely terrifies the bigger teams.
And the opening round has already delivered results that just completely scrambled those initial algorithms. Just look at these specific shocks.
Egypt, frustrating Belgium for a 1-1 draw, pushes their advancement probability up to 75%. Saudi Arabia put up this heroic, tactically brilliant effort against Uruguay, also landing them at 75%. And Cape Verde pulling off a stunning 0-0 draw against a European powerhouse like Spain, that gives them a 55% chance to slip through. These smaller nations are immediately frustrating their traditional elites, and it is fascinating to watch.
All right, Section 4, Navigating the Group Stage. Today's AI predictions and the path to the knockouts. Let's bring things right up to the present moment. June 17, 2026. The group stage is in full swing, and navigating it requires understanding a brand new mathematical reality. And here is the number that changes absolutely everything: 8. Under this new 48-team system, the top 2 teams from all 12 groups advance, naturally, but they're joined by the 8 best third-place teams. This safety net completely alters the risk assessment for every single match. A draw, or even a narrow loss, can actually be strategically acceptable now. Every single point and every single goal matters for survival.
So, based on those stakes, here are the direct AI forecasts for today's matches, June 17th. The data points to a tight 2-1 win for England over Croatia, with the algorithm specifically noting that England's superior bench depth is going to be the deciding factor in the second half. Portugal is heavily favored to beat DR Congo 3-0 due to their overwhelming attacking quality, and Colombia's fast Latin rhythm should see them pass Uzbekistan 2-0. These are basically data-driven prophecies, built entirely on squad depth and tactical matchups.
Now let's move ahead and see how this builds into the upcoming second and third round clashes. The forecast projects the USA will edge out Australia 2-1, really riding that intense home crowd energy. Spain is anticipated to scrape past a resilient Saudi Arabia 1-0 via relentless high pressing. Argentina is predicted to decode a very organized Austrian side 2-0 through sheer individual brilliance. Meanwhile, France's star-studded arsenal is expected to overpower Iraq 3-0. Again, with those 8 third-place spots up for grabs, you better believe the losing teams in these matchups will be calculating their goal differentials by the minute.
Section 5. Knockout Traps and Upsets, where the giants fall. Okay, so once we leave the group stage, the mathematics of the tournament actually take a kind of dark turn for some of the favorites. Adding this extra knockout round, the round of 32, creates a massive trap. The model explicitly calls this round a guillotine for big names. Why? Because teams that rely heavily on their historical reputation but lack genuine 26-man roster depth are going to hit a hard physical wall right here. That extra 90 minutes of high-stakes football is a total breaking point. And this brings us to what is probably the algorithm's boldest tactical prediction yet. The data shows a lethal vulnerability for teams playing slow, possession-based football, specifically pointing the finger at Spain and Belgium. If they match up in the round of 32 against teams built on high athleticism and rapid physical transitions, think Colombia or Ivory Coast, the forecast flags a super high probability of an early, shocking elimination. Possession without penetration is basically a death sentence in an endurance tournament like this.
Guiding you chronologically through this projected knocked-out bracket, it is pure chaos. Following that predicted early exit for Spain or Belgium in the round of 32, the round of 16 sees Norway's lethal attack triggering a massive upset, while Uruguay's tactical complexity ends the USA's historic home run. By the quarterfinals, the attrition peaks in some truly brutal heavyweight clashes, where the data actually forecasts Brazil bowing out, most likely exhausted from a complex path caused by their early group stage draw. It's really a war of attrition.
Which brings us to our final section, 6. The AI final prediction. Who survives the 8-match marathon?
So, after all the upsets, the travel fatigue, and those grueling tactical battles, who actually survives this thing? When the model filters all 48 teams through the metrics of stamina, bench depth, and tactical rotation, exactly 4 teams emerge as the optimal survivors for the semifinals. We've got France, because they literally have the luxury of rotating 2 world-class starting 11s, Germany, built on relentless physical power and organization, Argentina, defying physical limits through the pure collective spirit of Messi's final run, and England, utilizing a ruthless, pragmatic tournament reality under their manager Thomas Tuchel.
So, the absolute crucial point here is this. When calculating the final step on July 19th, the algorithm heavily favors France to win their 3rd star. The data argues that teams who start with explosive exertion, like Germany's 7-1 win, might actually experience a physical dip later on. France, however, knows exactly how to conserve energy, utilize their unparalleled bench depth, and peak precisely at the final hurdle against either Germany or England.
But that leaves us with a fascinating final thought. The models have charted the course based on cold, hard data,
endurance, squad depth, tactical probabilities. But football is played by humans, not algorithms. So I want you to think about this as you watch the rest of the matches unfold. Will the cold logic of squad endurance and AI calculation definitively beat out individual brilliance and history in this 40-18 marathon? Or will the unpredictable chaos of human passion shatter the perfect bracket? Keep your eyes on the pitch, folks. It's going to be an incredible ride.